Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Oh, come on. I know we're a small and mighty congregation, and this is a small and mighty minyan, but I know we can be more might in there. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Amazing, amazing. So I am Rabbi Dime, and I am turning on this mic, if I can get it to be, because it is my honor and pleasure to invite up our Vice President, Karen Retner, to lead us, give us some announcements, and then we'll get started.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Happy December. I'm Karen Retner. And I'd like to welcome everybody here to our Shabbat worship service. For those who are new, Rabbi Dime and Lori Simmons are cantorial soloists. If we haven't met you personally yet, we'd love to during the Oneg and get to know you more. Before we start, if anybody's cell phones are still on, we'd appreciate if you would silence them. And I just want to give you a few wonderful things coming up. Tomorrow, December 2nd, you're all invited to a Kiddush luncheon after services and then Torah study from noon to 1. Thursday, December 5th, this coming Thursday, Sisterhood is hosting Lunch and Learn with Rabbi Dime. Wednesday, the deadline for bringing your gifts for Jewish Family and Community Services, we have boxes in the front vestibule and appreciate anything you could bring in. Next Friday will be a Tat Shabbat at 5:30 and a Hanukkah celebration afterwards for the little ones. And then our entire congregation holiday Hanukkah party will be on December 10th, Sunday night, and it's lots of fun for adults and children. And then we're having a adults-only Hanukkah celebration on December 16th with a new play, a Hanukkah play that I'm sure will be as wonderful as the Purim plays that we have. So try and come to everything, and thank you again. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you very much again. And we will continue our service, start our service with Maya Fe Hayom on page 128, 128. Please join us there and join us in song.
Maya Fe Hayom. Shabbat Shalom.
Maya Fe Hayom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Maya Fe Hayom.
Shabbat Shalom. Maya Fe Hayom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. And now, to lead us in the lighting of the candles and the blessing over the Kiddush of the wine, I'd like to invite up Rachel Ray and Rylan to please come up. Okay. 1 second. That's on page 120, 120, and 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner lehadlik ner shal Shabbat.
And now the Kiddush on page 123, 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho B'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta Otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodecha ve'ahava uvratzon yinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
We now turn to page 138. Oh, you may be seated for a while. We turn to page 138, 138, for Lechadodi, and this is an ancient liturgical piece for welcoming Shabbat, welcoming the Shabbat bride. And so we traditionally do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, repeating back to the chorus each time. And then on verse 9, we will rise to metaphorically welcome Shabbat, turning to the door to welcome her in, and then turn back when we're done with that verse. And yeah, so 1, 2, 5, and 9, Lechadodi, pages 138 and 139.
Lechadodi, likrat likrakala, pene pene Shabbat nekabala. Lechadodi, likrat likrakala, pene Shabbat nekabala. Shemor v'zachor b'dibor echad, ish v'anu elchem yuachad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem multiferet v'liti la 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 la, lechadodi likrat likrakala, b'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabala, lechadodi likrat likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor ha'baracha, mirosh mikedem nesucha, sof maseh b'machshavati lai 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 lechadodi, likrat likrakala, b'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabala, lechadodi, likrat likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Hitori, hitori, Lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabala. Roi v'shalom ater bala, Gam b'simcha u'tzohala, Toch emunei segula, Roi kala, Roi kala, la 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 la, Lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela.
And now the Sabbath is good and welcomed, and we are going to remain standing in body or spirit and turn to page 146 for the Baruch Hu, where we call to worship. We begin with the Yailalais, and then I will do the call to worship, and you all join together for the response. So page 146.
Lai, 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 lai.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach. You may be seated. All right. Technical difficulties, but I think we got it figured out. Please turn to page 148 for the Ma'ariv Aravim.
Yada die, 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 die. Yada die, 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 die. Yada die, die, die. Yada die, die, yada die. Die, 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 die. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, ma'ariv aravim.
Please join with me in the English. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening.
Baruch atah Adonai ma'ariv aravim.
And now please join me on page 150, 150 in the English. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. And now we turn to page, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. You are right, it's always right to close off with the Hebrew. And now we turn to page 152, 152. I invite you to rise in body or spirit for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
You may be seated. We turn to page 154, 154 for the Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha b'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem eko mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz mitzrayim lihot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. And now we turn to page 158, 158. Please join with me in the English. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. Song of once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. And now we flip back to page 158 for our people's song of redemption on the right page, the Michamocha.
Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 yai lai 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh. Malchutecha ra'u v'anecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze'eli anu ve'amru, Ze'eli anu ve'amiru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, uge'alo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
And now we turn to page 160, 160, for the Hashkivenu. Let us join together in the English first, before we join in the Hebrew. Together, grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom
v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom
v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
The Hebrew at the bottom of the page. Baruch atah Adonai hapores sukat shalom aleinu va'al kol amo Yisrael va'al Yerushalayim. And now we turn to page 162, 162 for Vishamru.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et HaShabbat לדורותם ברית עולם.
That song is a good song. It's a joyous, happy song about Shabbat. And every time there are children here, which there are some tonight, I see the enthusiasm and the smiling and a little bit dancing sometimes. They get into the music more than we let ourselves do sometimes. So on the family services, we invite them up, and it is a real joy to have the students, the kids, lead us in Vishamru because it is such an enthusiastic, energetic song about the joy of Shabbat. So even though most of us may not be kids anymore right now, let's channel that joy the rest of Shabbat and really, really feel it. So now we turn to page 164, 164, for the tefillah portion of our service, the Amidah. I invite you to rise in body or spirit.
Adonai sefetai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor L'Olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atarav L'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Emunato, Lishene Afar, Micha Mocha Ba'agivarot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atala HaChayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Atah Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh, Ukdoshim b'chol yom Yahalalucha Selah. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
You may be seated. Please join me on page 175, 175, in the reading at the bottom of the page. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, and our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you. May we find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. And now we turn to page 177, 177. Please join me at the top. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of the soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ucha na'ed lehodot. And keeping in mind all those blessings and praises that we're able to offer for all the great things in our lives, we're still aware that we're hoping and waiting for peace. And so please join us on page 178 for Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu Melech Adon L'chol HaShalom. Ki atahu Melech Adon L'chol HaShalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
And now, our thoughts turn to those who are in need of healing, whether it is healing of mind or of body or of spirit. The congregation is thinking for healing of Jim Darman, Rebecca Kaufman, Pearl Levin, Ron Rappaport, Carol Friedman, Carol Wallace, David Cohen, Carol Solomon, June Van, Rabbi Michael Matchison, Dennis Montaigne, Sherry Chait, Jerry Chait, Larry Michaelov, Antoinette Worrell, Dennis Greiner, Robert Dawkins, Mary Louise Boyer, Stuart Rosenthal, Cheryl Young, Melissa, Mackenzie, Maisie, and Zev Gould, Chaim and Yehoshua V'Saradina, Yehudit Bat Naomi V'Raphael, Fran Marcus, Daniel Motz, Howard Silvers, Rose Aglico, Arthur Aglico, Eli Shlomo Ben Lynn Cynthia, Helen Siegel, David Shaknowski, Helene Ben Bassett, Shoshana Tehila Bat Rochel Yocheved, Carol Kalnitsky, Paige Hedrick, Vicki Wolfson, Hattie Kaufman, Bonnie Yales Gibson, Leo Stevenson, Sydney Morris, Sue Chataway, and Ron Van. If there is anyone else here that has a name that they would like to share with the community of someone whom they are holding in their hearts who's in need of healing, I invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours. We hold all of their names together as a community. I invite you to turn to page 371 and to rise in body or spirit for the Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Limoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
May those who will not be healed on this earth be blessed with nights free from suffering and days filled with peace. May God grant strength and comfort to those who care for the sick. May God help us to find hope and courage as we face fear and loss. May all who are ill be surrounded by the love of friends, loving companions, family, and community. And let us say,
Amen.
You may be seated. And now, having prayed for peace and prayed for healing, I invite you to take some moments for your own prayers, for the prayers of your heart in silent meditation.
Ose shalom bimromav, huyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yase shalom, Yase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom, Yase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru, amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Oh, we went through this already before. Come on. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. There we go. There we go. That was much, much, much better. It's good to hear the energy and enthusiasm because, especially on Shabbat, we need to remember that we have it for things like Shabbat, for good things in our lives, for positive things. Because this week's Torah portion, like this week's headlines, is full of really intense strife. This Torah portion is full of a lot of really good sermon material. We're not going to get to all of it tonight. This Torah portion could cover the whole book of Leviticus' worth of sermon material with all of the strife and contention and really important themes that are hashed out and delved into and in need of expansion of. So this is an overview of what I will be talking about tonight. Conflict in general, the personal, the tribal, the global, and in the Torah portion, we have Jacob wrestling with himself, wrestling with an angel. Some people say it actually is an interpersonal battle. Some people say it is internal, a personal striving within himself. The angel is an aspect of himself on the personal level. And on the global level, today is World AIDS Day, Global AIDS Awareness Day, and I think that that's an important thing to bring forward as well, that there are personal battles, there are global battles, there are things in this world that we're still fighting all the time. And so I'll also touch on the month of November, where I was for part of the time, and give a more extensive thank you to our cantorial soloist for covering for me and leading while I was away. There's a story, the Torah portion itself, and a lesson here on knowing how to pick our battles. And so, as far as being away in November, let me first say that the only way that I feel comfortable leaving, taking some time to go on conferences, is that cantorial soloist Laurie Simmons is here to keep this place going on Shabbat when I am not. So really thank you. I know how hard it is when cantorial soloist Laurie Simmons is not here when I have to do everything myself. It's just, I feel the burden. I feel it when you're not here, so thank you for being here when I am not. One of the conferences that I went to was a conference in Morristown, New Jersey called Metatopia. And it's a conference about game design. Not video games, but role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. Because for those of you that don't know, my capstone project for school was working on a Jewish learning-themed educational game about the Tanakh and about the Second Temple history, the destruction of the Second Temple. And so I was there to workshop it and learn more about how to make it better. And one of the things about role-playing games, for those that don't know or haven't played D&D, which I know is many of us, although it's getting more and more popular, is that when you're in a battle, when a person is playing a character who's in a battle, the character can either decide to, hit the ground running and swinging the sword, or one can hold one's action to wait until it's the right time to fire the arrow or cast a spell or swing the sword, depending on what's happening in the battle. So hold on to that thought about holding one's action, about waiting until the right time. We're going to get back to it. In the Torah portion, Vayishlach, we have a lot of these conflicts that I mentioned. We have Jacob versus Esau, the sort of the continuation, because Jacob and Esau were fighting before as brothers, contention from the womb. Jacob stole Esau's birthright a few Torah portions ago, and now Esau has come back. They're going to reunite, and there's a real fear in Jacob's heart about how it's going to go. That leads to Jacob battling the angel, wrestling with the angel, who might actually also be himself in this internal struggle. Then there is a clan versus clan violence and internal family violence within Jacob's house. Jacob and his sons are fighting over some really bad stuff they did, which is another sermon for another time. So we have a lot of different battles going on in this Torah portion. The internal struggle is what I'd like to focus on. Jacob struggling with the angel. Jacob struggling with himself when he's deciding who he wants to be as an adult human being, who he wants to be as he comes face to face with his brother whom he wronged so many years before when he stole his brother's birthright and his blessing from their father. And so how do we deal with internal struggles? How do we face down these huge battles that we have, whether it's trauma from before or trauma that we're facing currently in our lives? How do we cope? And in the same way that when one has a broken leg, one goes to the hospital and gets it set and put in a cast, there are people that struggle with battles that require a lot of mental anguish and cause a lot of mental anguish. And in that same way that the hospital is, of course, recognized as somewhere you go to get help with a broken leg, I'd like to advocate that we all continue to recognize and encourage others to recognize therapy as a really great method of helping to deal with mental struggles when one is dealing with trauma and issues that need help. We need help with dealing. So Jacob, after wrestling with the angel, I imagine could have used some therapy if it was actually an internal struggle that he was working through and struggled so hard, wrestled with the angel all night until dawn. And the Torah actually talks about how he was injured in his hip from this wrestling with the angel, that, if an internal mental struggle ends up with a strained hip, you need therapy. So I think there is this sense that the Torah is advocating, were it an internal struggle, they're valid. They're really intense. And so I'd like to bring that to the fore. That as somebody who has been in therapy, I think it's very, very valuable. I think it's a really important tool, and I recommend that anybody who needs it themselves or knows anybody who needs it, people should utilize. Um, the second trip, the second time that I asked Cantorial Soloist Laurie Simmons to cover for me while I was away last month was a rabbinic conference. And attached onto the rabbinic conference was some time spent in Philadelphia with friends. And in Philadelphia, a town that I lived in for many years, I got to know a lot of people and a lot of places. And one of my favorite places in Philadelphia is Rittenhouse Square. It's a really nice park, very central, a lot of nice trees and a good space for gathering, lots of fun shops, and it's a great spot. I was walking from where I was staying towards meeting up with some friends and was looking forward to crossing Rittenhouse Square and just sort of slow moseying my way across the park when I heard chanting from half a block away. You know, it's surrounded by alleys and you can sort of go around the park. And not quite there yet, I heard chanting, like a megaphone and people's voices, 1, 2, 3, 4, we won't take it anymore, that sort of thing about freeing Palestine and ending genocide. And I had my hand on my kippah, lifting my kippah an inch off of my head, preparing to go through the park and, you know, avoiding a conflict, when I decided, you know what? No. I put my kippah back on my head, and I walked around the park, deciding that one action I was going to take was keeping my kippah on, but the action I was going to hold was risking a confrontation. That there might have been people in that crowd who would have been fine with me walking by with the kippah at night in Rittenhouse Square, and there might have been people in that crowd who would not have been fine with me walking by in a kippah in Rittenhouse Square on a Friday night. And so that's one example of making a choice, of holding an action or taking an action that I thought was something worth sharing, as far as it's every day, whether it's in Philadelphia or down here, whether you're wearing a kippah or a Jewish star or anything, whether one's Jewish or one's not, there are always different choices we make, always different actions we can take. And the question of whether we act or whether we hold it for later, it's discretion is the better part of valor is another metaphor for another saying, but when do we choose to act in it? What's our rationale? So I held my action. Actions were held earlier this week in a way when hostages were being exchanged and there was a truce, and now there is fighting again, last I heard. And the world is a dangerous place. Israel in the Hamas war is dealing with a lot. Us as Jews internationally are dealing with a lot. And one of the things that I found really interesting in trying to unpack more of this world situation is this book. I'll actually share it afterwards with anybody who is interested, but it's called Jews Don't Count by David Badiel. And he really unpacks how it is that we can be thought of by a lot of people as the people that run everything and have space lasers, and at the same time are also dirty Jews. You know, we're people that nobody wants to spend any time with, and we're reviled. How can we be both at the same time? And he talks about how people on the left and people on the right, people who would stand with every other group of people and advocate for people's rights, don't stand with us. And it's been really energizing and angering and illuminating to read this book, and I highly recommend it because it puts a lot of words concisely on a lot of feelings I've been having. And so, whether we hold our actions or act on them, whether we're acting on personal struggles, national struggles, international struggles, whether it's the Israel versus Hamas, whether it's teaching about World AIDS Day, there's a lot that we can do, and we just have to decide how to spend our time. And so this Shabbat, I hope for all of us that we can rest and recoup and think and take some time to just take the time we need to do all that so that we can approach the next week energized and have our decisions in front of us to know when we want to hold our actions and when we want to take our actions. Shabbat Shalom. We now turn towards the end of our service. I'd like to invite you to turn to page 586, 586 for the Aleinu. Please rise in body or spirit.
עלינו לשבח לדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו כהמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומי, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. Our thoughts now turn to those whom we have lost. The congregation is thinking of those whom we have lost within the last year. Clara Ostfeld, Lionel Gleichenhaus, Lawrence Merrill Saxon, Anna Logsden, Rayla Montagna, Roberto Ruiz, Shelley Fishman, Michael Cherep, Zenobia Neustadt, Benjamin Fishman, Leonard Smolin, Marilyn Goodman, Uriel Betzalbel Ben Hinda, Erica Pearl, Anita Perlman, Ellie Reamer, and those whom we've lost at this time in years past: Herman Bardfeld, Agnes Baylor, Claire Bernhardt, Samuel Drashin, Leo Ellikin, Murray Ginsburg, Norman Ginsburg, Caroline Gleichenhaus, Ruth Halpern Rosenblatt, Betsy King, Anna Leppo, Earl Leviton, Joseph Mayer, Martha Moreland, Rosalind Moskowitz, Henry Perskin, Anna Rabin, William Richmond, Bernie Shane Brown, Gussie Simon, and Harry Jurgen. If there is anyone that has a name that they would like to share with the community, I invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours. Thank you for bringing that to us. Thank you. Dan, you mentioned that there were hostages that were just declared dead, some 6 hostages that were just declared dead. Thank you for raising that awareness. We hold all of their names and their memories with us. And we turn to page 598, 598. I invite you to rise in body or spirit for the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shmei Rabbah Ve'alma divra chirute ve'amlich malchute v'chayachon uve'omechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'gala uvizman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam ulalmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shmei kudusha brichu La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who makes peace on high bring comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated. Please turn to page 626, 626 for Ein Kelohenu.
Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemokehenu, Ein Kmoshienu, Michelohenu, Michadonenu, Michemokehenu, Michemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Mokehenu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
And now I invite us to turn to page 678, 678 for Hatikva. In a moment, I'll ask that we rise in body or spirit, and then after Hatikva, to remain standing in body or spirit for the priestly benediction. So, page 678, I invite you to rise in body or spirit.
Kolot balevav pnima, nefesh Yehudi homia, ufatehi mizrach kadima, ayin letzion Sophia. O lo avda tikvateinu, hatikva bat shnot alpayim, liotam chofshi be'artseinu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim. Liotam chofshi be'artseinu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim.
And now we turn back to page 603, 603. Please remain standing in body or spirit.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yismerecha.
Ken Yehi Ratzon. May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yihuneka.
Ken Yehi Ratzon. May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasehim lecha shalom, shalom, Shalom.
Ken
Ken
Yehi Ratzon.
Yehi Ratzon.
May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.